Hello everybody, and welcome back to the follow-up video to my Sunday show, my Sunday live stream. My name is Christine Aldridge. I am a coloring book artist. I do draw coloring books for a living, and and of course I make video how-tos, and I'm learning to color, thus the adventure in coloring, and hopefully I'm able to show you the things that I learn as we go along and help you. On Sunday, we began this picture from my book, Flowers of Fantasy. Hang on just a second. And I will show you the cover of this. And we are demonstrating the power of a 3-color palette. This is one of the 11 books that I have currently published. Links are below to this book, and there are several others which I will show you as we go along. The inspiration for this particular coloring project is this drawing. It was colored by Dee Willingham, who you may know has a wonderful channel. She is a marvelous artist, and I am using the exact same color palette that she used, only this is, I believe, markers and pencils, and I'm translating it to 100% markers. Well, actually, I think it is pencils. At any rate, it's gorgeous. I think it's markers and pencils. And so this is my version of it on this particular drawing. Now, when the color artist who covered, or the cover, when my cover artist, hello, colored this cover, she used 4 colors. She used, of course, the pinks, the apricots, the greens, and then, of course, accented with the blues. So I have cut 1 color out and am proceeding along. And as you can see, if you are color palette challenged, like I am, I draw in black and white. I see my art in black and white. I make it pretty, I hope, in black and white. And then I'm inspired by you guys to bring it to life in color. And so the 3-color palette is a perfect practice tool for the color palette challenged like me. And in this particular case, blues and golds and greens lend itself to a great color palette. And I think that I am really, really pleased with how this particular project is coming out. Now, before we get started, I did want to show you once again that now these are hand-painted art cards that I have been making. I was able to locate the cardstock that I needed to make the backgrounds, so I've been steadily gluing these to the, gluing the hand-painted pieces to the, these are, almost all of them are, well, all of my work is hand-drawn, but these are actually just drawn with a graphite pencil and then watercolored directly on the paper. This was a coloring page that I printed out on cardstock, and I did with Inktense, and then I cut them out to use on cards. And that's the butterfly series. All 4 of these, there's 4 of them. I only used, oh, there's the 4th one. So all 4 of these are on one thing. Now, I was going to ask you guys what you thought about the idea of me doing original hand-painted or, hand-colored work like this and making cards out of them and perhaps putting them in my Etsy shop as a set already colored. So if you have any comments about that, I did used to have a little company called Inbalance Note Cards. It was part of my Reno jewelry on eBay. This, by the way, these were pre-cut to some other sizes, and this actually sat on the end. I cut it off when I mounted this card. But so these are one step closer to going out in the mail. And these are the thank yous for the people who have been so generous in sending me gifts for my birthday, coloring supplies for the channel, and of course PayPal tip jars donations, which of course all artists are so grateful for their patrons, and myself included. So I wanted to say thank you with a little original piece. So that is the update on those. And now, when we left on Sunday, I had only done the top portion of this. I had color marked a few places, and I was sort of dithering about what colors I wanted to use on this square, this square that's behind. As you can see, I did settle on the accent gold for the outer, and I settled on the dark blue for the inner. I am leaving all of this white space white because white space, there's a lot of power in utilizing your white space. And so let me zoom in just a little closer so you can see what I've done. Obviously I've alternated my lights and the darks so that I've got lots of contrast using all the colors that are here in the top of the piece. The 3-blend flower for the golds. I used the darker gold, the medium gold on two sides, the light gold on one side to make it look a little like a jewel. It's got a blue pearl in the center, and this pearl will have some shiny glitter added on top of it, as will the gold pearls. So they're going to have a little shading like we did up here on the berries. And I also made, when I started the green leaves on this side, I did them a little differently than the ones on this side, and I think I like this side better, so I'm going to be darkening these up and leaving that same lighter space to make them look more like they're shiny. I like shiny things. Yeah. I have always liked coloring that leaves you with the impression that it's gleaming. And so anyway, now I did change a couple of things from when we originally color mapped this. And that was because originally I had thought that I was, on this top portion, I thought I was going to do these blue, and I did. But for some reason, I had color mapped them down here on the bottom in green. And that was wrong, so I've changed that, marked them again with a little bit of the lightest blue that I have, just so I won't forget. These are gold, gold, green, and ultimately these, I was originally going to do blue, but I've decided to go ahead and do green. So now that everybody's suitably confused, I will just demonstrate what I've done. Or what I'm doing. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that I had colored these in light blue, and I have since decided that I would much rather that they were green. So I have taken my blue-green, which is, and by the way, these are the Caliart markers. They come in a set of 100 in a soft-sided case. They are budget-friendly. This is, oops, let me back out. so that you can see this lovely case. And it's a soft-sided case. I put a little bit of cardboard in so that my markers don't flop all over the place, but these are them, and they are really, really beautiful. I did swatch these out. You put this back, and this is the swatch of these Caliart markers. So that is what I am working with. I keep my swatch book handy always. I'll set it out there on top of the markers so that I can see it. And this is the darkest of the three greens. So I have a three-color palette: green, blue, and gold. And I've chosen 3 markers from each of those color families. And this is the Colorless Blender, which I only use to correct mistakes. I don't really use it to blend the colors. I do that with the actual markers. So that is all the setup there is. I'm going to start with this darkest of the greens. And I'm going to use it to change the color of this mistake that I made. And it's not really a mistake. I was color mapping and I changed my mind. So you can, which is why when I color map, I always do it with the lightest color. That way you can still change it to a darker color. So this was the light blue-gray, which was this one up here. And so I'm changing it to the darker of the 3 greens. And I'm just solid coloring it. I'm not going to worry about trying to blend this or add a sheen like I did up here with colors. If I'm going to do that at all, I'll end up doing that with like a glitter gel pen. But because this is a blue-green, the coverage in changing it to the other color, or to a green from a blue, is easy to do. Now, of course, in any set of markers, in addition to the greens that come with the set, you also can make any color or variation of green by starting to mix up your yellows and your blues. Now, I haven't had this set long enough to experiment with it to find out what kind of greens that I can get by mixing the yellows and the blues, but that was something that was pointed out to me by Gary H., who most of us know from streams, that you can mix a lot of different colors by laying a blue on top of a yellow or a yellow on top of a blue. So I'll do that and see how many greens we can get, but not today. Today we are exploring 3-color palettes and the power in 3-color palettes. So so that has been changed, and I've already done all of this, and I'll stick in a little part of the video that shows where I did that right here. I'll just do a couple and show you, and then I will turn the camera off, finish them, and come back to them. I like this little end because and I'm really just touching very, very lightly because it lets you get into the small spaces. I'm not mashing it down, I'm just touching it to the paper. Because this paper is fairly absorbent, it will pull it'll pull a fair amount of pigment out of your pens. So if you use a light touch, you'll have a lot less problem with color bleeding where you don't want it. And one more. See, like it bled in there because I wasn't careful enough. But that's okay. That's just art's way of making magic. Okay, I will finish these up and be... Okay, presto changeo, all the dark little spots in there are done. Now I am going to start with the darkest gold that I have, which is, I should have told you that what I was working on with that is the BO25, which is the blue that you see here. It is, the actual official color is Provence, I believe. BO25, yes. Provence, P-E-R-V-E-N-C-E. BO25. So that's blue. And the gold here is Y314. And the color on that is yellow. I actually have the 314 yellow, the Y204 pastel yellow, and the Y003 Canaria yellow. So those are the three golds that I'm using in this piece. So I have three colors, but I have three tones of each color. So a total of 9 pens that I'm working with. So the darkest, what I wanted to do was make these look a little more like a jewel. So I am doing one side of these little triangle things in the darkest color of gold. So that is this one. And then I'm using so here are my 3 shades. So I'm using the middle one, the Y204, which is the pastel yellow. I'm using it for, let me turn the book a little more so I get a decent angle on this. So I'm doing this on 2 sides. Now, I can always shade these a little more with pencils if we decide that's what we want to do. And I realize that these look very dark going down, but as the alcohol evaporates and they dry on the page, they won't be nearly that dark looking. So now is the lightest yellow, and I will use it for these. Okay, now I will go ahead and I showed you this one, but I will show it to you one more time, how I did the darker flowers. I started out with the darkest of the golds and just put down a layer like this to the inside. Then I took the middle and brought it out just a little further. Actually going over the lighter gold or the darker gold, just like you would with pencils. And then I'm going to take the lightest yellow and do the actual outside of the petals. And that just gives a nice effect of some depth, and it will allow us, if we want to shade later with pencils, to add a little more contrast. We can definitely do that. I think that I may shade some of the areas, even though they are gold. I may shade them with a little bit of sienna pencil, which is basically bringing a brown into it, but I don't think it's cheating on a 3-color palette if all you're using your pencils for is, adding a bit of contrast and not necessarily changing a color of something. So, and it's my coloring book, my rules. Darker blue-green for the center of that flower. And then I will be adding a little, just like I did over here, although I think you can barely see it. I'm adding a little zhuzh of glitter gel pen in there, gold glitter gel pen, and I'll be doing that in various other places on this. So let me finish these down here, and I will be right back. The wonders of editing. Actually, what happened there, folks, is that I had recorded a beginning to this video that after I watched it, I wasn't happy with, and so I ended up having to record a new beginning, but I didn't want to lose the part of the recording where I had done these sides, so I pieced it together backward in the editor. So anyway, so now we're going to move forward. So you saw how I got to having done all of this. Now we're going to move on to this bottom portion here. I did mention that I had changed the color on these, so I am going to go ahead and get aggressive about it and use the big old chisel tip and lay down just a first layer. Now this, by the way, is my books are printed by Amazon. Whoops, that was not good. I should not have got a little exuberant there and got a little outside the lines, but I think I will be able to fix that, and let me show you how. This is actually part of the lost introduction video, or part, but this is the Colorless Blender, and I am going to bend back my spine there, and I'm going to try and chase this back. Now, if the video seems to stall on you, it's not something I can do anything about at this point. I have a laptop with a Core i3 processor in it, and it's just not quite fast enough to accommodate high def and still catch every single frame. So it does it does well most of the time, but Windows has all kinds of weird stuff that runs in the background, and I never know exactly what's running, but if there's anything at all running, it can slow my videos down. And so sometimes they're crystal clear and capture every frame, and other times there might be an update of a weather program or something running, and it causes it to drop frames. So that is what is going on with that, and my apologies. Hopefully it's not super distracting. Okay, so now we're going to go back to adding this. And by the way, did you see what happened? It just pushed all of that back in, or caused it to spread around enough to where you don't actually notice it. Either way, it fools the eye. Okay, so there's the first layer on those. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to add the first layer on the ones on this side. I love this blue-gray. I suspect that it will be one of the first ones to dry out in my set, because it's a great base layer. Something that I'm learning about marker coloring is that you do want to start, if you're going to blend, you want to start with a nice light shade, so you can always add darker on top of it. Okay, so there are those two. I may decide yet that I need to make something else blue down here. These are not so much like those. That they don't that they have to be green. I could in fact make those blue. I'm anticipating having a little color balance issue down here, but we will get there and find out. Okay, so now I've got the middle blue, which is the B003, whereas this one was the BG, standing for blue-gray 03. This is the B003, which is an actual blue. And so I will start, actually let's start with this one, since it's easier for me to make it so that you can see it. I'm just sort of determining these are going to blend really well together. I'm just sort of, because I want these to be a little lighter on top. To make it look like they're catching some of this light, so, or some of the light that's shining down. So I'm not being too fussy just yet, because I can always go back and shade with some pencils. If I don't get contrast quite dark enough, or if I've got too much of a jerky line, you know, a jerky blend line. So now I'm going to actually put the lighter shade again right over that. And what I'm trying to encourage it to do is sort of flow and fade out and blend into each other. And we'll know how well we did when that dries. And we can then, right now, even while it's still wet, although you have to be careful when you do this, add just a little bit of the darkest blue. Just in the areas that you think would be the most shadowed. And then wait for it to dry. Okay, then we can add some yellow, starting with the lightest of the yellows. Oops. Make sure they're... And one of the wonderful things about Caliarts is that they are, they've got really good numbers on them. So you can usually pick out, like my lightest is my lowest number, and the middle is the next number, you know, sequentially. So that's a 003, that's a 204, the darkest is a 314. So I want the 204, or the 003 to start out with for my lightest color. Well, actually, you know what? We're going to blend these the opposite way. We're going to blend them dark to light. So let me, oops, not that end. We want this end. And I will go ahead and I want to make kind of like a little U. Bringing it just a tad up the sides, being very, very light with my strokes. Trying to keep my hand shadow out of it so you can see that. Then go with the medium yellow, which is the 204. And this is sort of similar to what we did on the these flowers. Just sort of bringing it up a little bit. And then we can add the lightest of the yellows, the Y003, choosing the fine tip point, And notice I'm going the opposite direction, and that's because I want to run the darker colors back and let the lighter colors be on top. So I'm brushing toward the darker colors with the lightest. There we go. Now I was really liking the shade of green that came out when I did the stems on this. And I had originally screwed up, and no, Christine, really? You screwed up? And I had used this dark gold on my stems. And as it turned out, as in always I say, there is no such thing in art as a mistake. There is only a happy accident. So when I did that, I then wanted to change them to a darker green. So once again, I took out that blue-green, that same blue-green that keeps coming to my rescue in some of these other little mistakes that I made. Not mistakes, ways of art working magic, and helping me change colors, things like this blue to green. And I used it just in a single stroke directly over that yellow, or that gold on those stems. And it gave me the prettiest dark green. And as you can see, I was able to repeat it to get a different green over here as well. So that's what I mean about layering your blues over your greens, or even your greens over your golds, over your yellows, to get different shades of green that aren't actually in any of the pens that you have. So don't ever think that you only have the number of colors that are in your set. You can always blend more colors, no matter your medium, whether it's markers or watercolors or gouache or ink tints. There are always more colors to be blended. Hang on just one second and I will be right back. Well, hello everybody and welcome back. Through the unfortunate loss of yet another section of footage, I am not going to be able to show you how I got this far, but it's okay, because all I really did was lay down a base layer of the yellow-green on all the stuff that I wanted to be green, and then I took the secondary green and put a little bit down in the center of each of these, and I had just started to do this one when my computer automatically shut down. I do believe that because I have a tendency to try and make my videos, if I miss my Tuesday night window, I've been making them on Wednesday night, and I think that my computer automatically defrags on Wednesday nights, and when it does that, it automatically restarts. And when it does, if I'm right in the middle of recording, it hangs on to the footage, but there's no way to actually open it. At least not with any of the programs that I have that typically open my videos. So I apologize that you missed that part of it. But right now, all I'm doing is just adding in just a little bit of dark highlights or darker highlights wherever I think that there would not be as much light. And plus, I haven't done this side yet, so I can just show you pretty much what I've done. And I'm doing this on both of these green ones, although one or the other of them will also feature the darker blue greens. Anybody who's ever tried to figure out the task manager screen on Windows, it's got a bunch of things that run, but you don't know what they go to. You can stop them running, but you don't know if they might be essential to making something else work down the road that will then ultimately make whatever it is that you're doing unusable. And I don't know enough about the inner workings of software to know what those things are. I know a little bit about hardware, but nothing to, virtually nothing about programming. So all I'm really doing is just adding in a little dark color or a second color here to sort of blend this in. And I will be able to blend these out with the lighter color, so I'm not being too fussy about where, blending out any lines right now, harsh lines, anything like that, because I can catch those with another layer of the light green. Just getting some darker pigments in there right now. So then I can go ahead and do all of these. And all I'm really kind of doing is just outlining the darker edges where it would be folded under. I'm not certain if it was in that last section that I talked about doing a series of the three color, experimenting with 3 colors. I think it was the section before, though. So I won't go over that again. I will just do that. Okay, now I'm not quite done, but I am going to be adding in some darker shades, contrast shades, probably in these, because I think that they lend themselves to it, because I had already put in darker shading when I drew them. But I do believe that I've shown you the basics of color balancing, just kind of trying to make sure that you're using your colors in a way that they balance each other out. Especially since, of course, my art is about symmetry, and for the most part. I have lots of drawings that are not symmetrical, but all of my drawings are balanced. And so therefore color balancing works on them really well. And of course, color balancing works on everything. And great people who, show that are folks like Sammy and Dee Dee and Lori and all of the people who are just really good colorists. And so you can find lots of videos about good coloring here on YouTube, and I encourage you to do so. Because that's how I'm learning. I am learning from those who know more than me. And then hopefully I am, for those who want to learn it from me, I'm providing that service as well. So, plus I love to talk about what I learn, and develop how I work it into my own way of doing things, and anything that I find that works that you might think works as well, all of that. So I am going to be, like I said, changing all of these up to something a little more along the line of what I did with these particular leaves here. And that is, hopefully that's still in focus, and that is just leaving that tiny bit of highlight there. Now, if you, for some reason, you've straight colored, and you don't have that tiny little highlight or access to it, you can add it in with a white Posca, or a white Uniball, or, a green gel pen, or a metallic gel pen. There's just a gajillion possibilities of what you can do to then add further detail. And the only limit to any of that is your imagination. So what 3 colors would you like to use together? If you want to leave that in the comments, then we can try them out here and see how they work on various drawings. And once again, my name is Christine Aldridge. If you would like to follow me on social media, I am on Facebook. I also have a coloring group there. I am on Instagram, and I am on Twitter. And if you know the CLAldridge art part, you can generally find me anywhere. The coloring books that I create are all shown on the back of my most recent book, which is 40 Fan Favorites. These are the 8 major books that I've released. There is also a travel size book, which is a 6x9. There is this 40 Fan Favorites. The travel size has images from the first 3 books, and I do have slated to do another travel size book featuring art from the other books. 40 Fan Favorites has 5 drawings from each of the 8 books, so 8 times 5 is 40, and you can find, like, the first 5 drawings are all from my very first book, which was Flowers and Dreams, and the next 5 are from Flower Inspirations, and the next 5 are from Flowers and Flyers. And, it just goes on through all 8 of the books. In addition, there is a mandala book only, which is the best of CLAldridge art mandalas. And So it has various of the just round mandalas that I've drawn over the years. And here is one that I completed. And if you're a viewer of my channel, you've already seen these. But this is my very first work with the Caliarts. And as you can see, I zhuzhed it up with quite a bit of glitter. This was actually the Zier glitter, the acrylic glitter paint, which are very, very cool. Oh, and those were actually a gift, and I have been swatching them out as I use them, but this is them. As you can see, they come in a pack of, I believe it's 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, yes. Come in a pack of 12, and they do come with 2 nibs. This is the fine nib, and then they also come with a larger medium nib, but it's 2 different sets. So, but these are just gorgeous, and they just shine and add wonderfulness to anything that you add them to. And I love sparkle. Anyway, until we meet again, please color something pretty. Bye, everybody.